said...
What was the take?
So basically I said, men care about women's body counts a lot, rightfully so, which a woman then, as a rebuttal, I care about how many hours of porn have you watched. Because I think it has the same psychological effects that having a high body count for women that watching porn, which by the way, I don't do OnlyFans, so go ahead and try to find whatever leak you're talking about. But
well, what would be the number?
That was what we were talking about. I don't know what the conversion rate would actually be, but there's no denying that porn has psychological effects on men that correlate and are very similar to the psychological effects of women having high body counts.
I mean, I don't deny that watching porn will have some degree of impact on men, but you just can't make this sort of comparison that it's on the same level as promiscuity.
Who has more crazy kinks, men or women?
Well, I heard pregnant.
I'd actually argue
so
women.
that was worse.
There's
Men
this
have
book,
that too.
There's this book.
Yeah, true. A breeding kink.
Wait, it's called
That shit
My
is scary as
Secret
hell.
Garden. My Secret Garden, I think, is the name of the book. It came out in Women's Sexual Fantasies. Is a 1973 book compiled by Nancy Friday, and who collected women's fantasies through letters and tapes and personal interviews. And bro, y'all got some weird fucking shit.
I mean, that's fine. So do men.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
who commits the more sexual crimes?
Well, hold on. Okay, that's...
No, because like if we're talking about the consequences, right? The psychological consequences.
You think it's because of porn use that...
I mean, I think it does have an effect for some people.
You think men are more likely to
definitely an
essay women
influence.
because of porn use? Couldn't you
it
make...
escalates
you could
psychologically. It
Yeah.
escalates them to a point to where, yeah, eventually
Do you have any science
either they do crimes or they get into
because
really
of
crazy
watching...
kinks.
The crazy
Absolutely,
thing is
absolutely.
What?
Watching porn could even lead to erectile dysfunction, and that's on.
Hold on. Let's stay on your one thing here. So, you said that men who watch porn are more likely to essay women. Couldn't you make the opposite argument that men who are deprived of sexual release are more likely to essay women?
Yeah, I agree with both statements, but I do think that there's more inherent harm in watching porn and going that route.
I think it's a bit of a leap, though, to say men who watch porn are more likely to essay women.
I think there actually are statistics that show that the higher porn consumption leads to more essays.
Yeah.
Now,
How do you prove that, though?
Think about how porn is, though.
Well, okay, so
because we're not talking about just grabbing women off the street, but like in a situation where it's like, say you two are drinking, and it's like some men don't understand that's not what women want because in porn she loves that, or that's
so I
like
think
things
the
like
psychological thinking behind it is
it's a reach. Go ahead, Dom.
So when someone's watching porn, like it gets more and more extreme to
Right.
get the same amount of reaction.
Right.
So once porn, and this is kind of an argument I would pose against your point of view. Not saying porn's good, but once you get to a certain point, things through a screen no longer have the same effect.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to do stuff in real life.
Right.
The only way they can do that is generally forcefully.
Yeah.
So there are statistics that kind of bear that out. But then to argue against your point, yes, I think porn is terrible for marriage, especially if you're looking for a husband. Don't find somebody who watches a lot of porn. It's extremely bad. But I definitely would say that the physical relationship, like physically engaging in the act of sex, is like with multiple people is way on magnitudes worse.
Isn't it a product of psychology though, right? Like psychology and biology,
Well, yeah. So
because what makes it worse? Like, what happens when a woman has a high body count to now not being a wife or wife material? Like, what is it that happens? Like, isn't it a psychological thing? Like, her pair bonding ability more likely to lead to divorce, less likely to be able to raise, children.
So, just emotionally,
Right.
It's harder for women to emotionally detach from men when they have sex with them. It's easier for men to detach emotionally when they have sex with a woman. Not saying that like I'm promoting men to go have sex with a bunch of women, but they are psychologically different and physiologically different.
Yeah, so that's why my comparison isn't on a man's body count.
Exactly.
It's on hours watched of porn.
Well, but it's not even close to the same magnitude. I'm not saying that Obviously, porn bad, but it's not porn bad just like women high body count bad.
And also, I think if we, one perhaps angle we can look at this, if we look at the extremes of both and the impact on the partner. So, okay, let's say the guy is like watching 5 hours of porn a day, extreme porn addiction, right? That
terrible for you.
Bad, but okay, maybe he has difficulty getting it up and he's got weird kinks or whatever, who knows, whatever it may be. The extreme of a woman who's got, let's say, a body count of 100. Well, okay, let's just use the extreme negative symptoms or ramifications. Fucking, it could be an STD. She's got a fucking crazy ex or some shit. Like,
I mean, I would argue that
way worse.
A man with a porn addiction in a committed relationship also possibly might go cheat and go to explore his fantasies, and the fantasies that he develops having an intense porn addiction is going to lead to him possibly committing infidelity, and that potentially could risk your health for STDs.
But you can make like the extremes. I would argue it's far worse to be promiscuous than to be a porn user.
Yeah, and the psychological.
Wait, do you agree with that? If we can say that, yes.
I personally think they have equal consequences.
You think
it also depends what kind of porn maybe that you're watching.
Well,
so
but
to be clear,
but
like
that's
if he's
the
watching
thing.
5 hours of hardcore crazy
but that's
stuff,
the
I feel
thing
like that
is
has more
the more
fun.
you watch, the more likely you're gonna be going into
like
crazier
there's
stuff.
some men who have to watch porn and jack off before they can have sex with their wife. Like,
let me
that's
ask
crazy.
you this. So let's say if we can agree that porn is bad and promiscuity is bad. Okay. So let's compare an average amount of porn usage and an average amount of female promiscuity. Which is worse?
They're probably the same.
You think it's the same?
I do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think that, okay, so someone who, so a woman who is promiscuous versus a man who consumes porn, the long-lasting effects of being promiscuous far outlast the long-lasting effects of being porn addicted. Say the man gets off porn immediately and he's no longer, he doesn't even have the ability to consume it. Like after a certain amount of time, say it's probably about a year, like those negative effects go away. After a year, those negative effects don't go away for a woman.
I completely disagree with that. I think if anything, people get over their promiscuity times. Like a lot of once people have that couple years phase in their lives and then realize what they were doing, versus the effects of watching that porn that much and developing those kinks. If you develop those kinks and stuff, I don't see them going back. Yeah, like once you're there, you're
I don't know the statistics on that. I would be interested to know the statistics on like if someone quits porn, how quickly it takes them to get back to baseline. But we do have statistics. We do have statistics on quitting promiscuity. So people who have 5 or more sexual partners in their lifetime have a 20% likelihood of a successful marriage. We do have that. Them quitting promiscuity like doesn't affect their success in marriage.
Because maybe they're not quitting.
So I don't know. Yeah. So
we don't know those statistics. Maybe the reason why that's failing is because they're going on and still cheating or doing things of the
they
sort.
can't stop themselves.
Which is porn watchers. I haven't met someone who's addicted to porn who's able to stop themselves because it's so much easier accessible than having sex.
I do have to move things on to the last thing here so I can try to wrap up the show. Just some of your pre-show notes here.